Okay, Meridian, welcome back. We are now going to finish chapter 17 and continue on. So Iris is with Wendell at Bridgewood right now. Wendell was signing with other students and the teacher, telling them about Blue 55. They looked over at me and signed things like, "Really? And that's great." The teacher asked, "Will you let us know how it works out?" I told her I would. The junior high wasn't even Wendell's school yet, but he interacted with the other kids as if he were already going there. Next year as a student, he'd know even more people. It must have been like that for him all the time, being able to talk to people around him so easily. I thought about asking Mom again if I could go to school at Bridgewood. She'd probably say no. I hadn't brought it up for a long time because I didn't like the way her face changed when I did. Kind of like when we visited Grandma and she held me a little longer and looked at me like I was going somewhere far away. Maybe I could try again to convince her that it would be better here, that this is where I belonged. I set the ASL history book down so I could join the conversation with the other students, but I missed what Wendell had just signed. Then I missed what they had answered back. Somehow they were all keeping up with whatever they were talking about. I tried to tell myself I was just a little lost because I had been looking down at the book when they all started their conversation. But if that were it, I'd be able to catch up right away. Instead, I felt like I was tumbling in the murky water of the Gulf after a wave knocked me over. After watching their conversation for a minute, I picked up a little more. Wendell was signing faster than he usually did with me. That wasn't the only difference. A few of the signs he was using were new to me. No one else at the table looked confused. They turned to me like they were waiting for me to answer a question. I shrugged at Wendell. "I didn't catch what you were talking about." One of the students waved me off and signed, "Train gone, sorry." I'd missed out and it was too much trouble to catch me up. Wendell laughed a little and signed, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to sign like an old person for you." I flinched like he'd just slapped me. The other students laughed with him. Wendell stopped when he saw my face, then gave the others a small head shake. "Sorry," he sighed. "It's okay," I told him, even though it wasn't true. I put the ASL history book back on the shelf. Maybe I wouldn't fit in here after all. Wendell tapped my shoulder. I'd been looking out the window of the van while Miss Jackson drove us back home. "Are you mad? I'm really sorry. I don't really think about it. I just sign a different way with you than I do at Bridgewood. You do that too, right? Like you don't sign the same with your dad as you do with your mom or grandma or me." Well, that didn't help bringing it up how I have to sign differently for Dad to understand. I shook my head to let Wendell know he didn't need to apologize. "It's okay," I signed again. It wasn't really okay, but it wasn't his fault. We didn't see each other every day, and I wasn't around other deaf people our age like he was. Most of my conversations had been with my grandparents or with Mr. Charles, so I wasn't mad at Wendell for signing differently for me than he did with other kids. I was mad that he had to do it at all. That's the end of chapter 17. I was about to go downstairs for dinner when the message I had been waiting for came in. "Dear Iris, sorry it took so long to get back to you. I was intrigued by your idea right away, but wanted to run it by the rest of the team first. Great news. We will play your song for Blue 55 and we try again to tag him with the tracker. We'll also place a speaker in the deep waters of the sanctuary to see how he responds." I couldn't believe it. The sanctuary staff all the way in Alaska had talked about me and the song I made. They liked my plan. I'd been afraid to hope they'd actually use it. Andy was a real scientist who cared about Blue 55, and she listened to me. This all depends on whether he's nearby, of course, and if we can find him. No one's heard him singing lately, so we're not sure where he is. Hopefully he'll start singing again if he's around. Ask your parents for permission to give me your mailing address, and I'll be glad to send you a sanctuary t-shirt. We'll mention you on our Facebook page, and when it's time for the expedition to go out, click on a link to the live webcast so you can see your plan in action. And if you're ever around Appleton, Alaska, no one ever is, but just in case, stop by the sanctuary and we'll give you a tour. I'm so impressed by your work you've done. You're thinking like a scientist. You discovered a problem and worked a way out to solve it. Thanks again for writing us with your idea, Iris. We're looking forward to trying it out so we can learn more about Blue 55. Andy. I was so excited that I jumped up and ran a circle around my room, stopping in front of the picture of Blue 55 on the wall. I made a song for you. I hope you like it. My hand brushed the picture of the whale's face, then dropped to my side. As happy as I was that Blue 55 would hear the song, it didn't seem right to just watch online when it happened. When the sanctuary staff got to meet Blue 55, I'd be sitting at home in front of a computer screen. That wasn't enough. I should be there when he heard the song. Dear Andy, I'm so happy you're actually going to use the song. Even though Blue 55 has never heard it, it's a song he's looking for. I'm sure of it. Thanks so much for writing back and for inviting me to your sanctuary. I'll ask my parents if I can go soon so I can be there when Blue 55 is. Can I join you on the expedition? I'd be glad to help out. That way you can focus on tracking him and I'll take care of the speakers and the song. I've been working with radios for a long time, so I'm used to handling electronic stuff. I'm almost at the end of the school year, so nothing much is going on anymore because we're doing learning things. And my parents won't mind me missing a few days of school for such an educational trip. I didn't add that my school sure wouldn't mind if I missed a few days either. I guess that's it for now. Let me know when you think Blue 55 will be there. Iris. Maybe Andy was only being polite when she told me to stop by if I was ever in the area, but if I was going, I would meet that whale. As soon as we sat down to dinner, I told my family about Blue 55, how it all started with the video at Sophia Amelia's class, and how Andy and her team tried to tag him. Mom interpreted some of what I was said to Dad since he didn't understand everything. I tried to slow down for him, but I couldn't stop my hands from flying. Then I told him about all the work I did studying Blue 55's song and how I figured out how to make a new song for him with the music from school and the tuner app. And I signed that part slowly and looked around the table to make sure I had their attention. Blue 55 should be near the sanctuary again soon. The staff will try to tag him again, and they'll play my song underwater so he'll hang around longer. Really? Tristan signed? That's impressive. That's great you were able to help them, said Mom. You must have worked really hard on that. Dad still looked a little lost, but signed, yes, great. They did seem impressed, but I wasn't sure they really understood what a big deal this was. Maybe I hadn't gotten across how long he'd been swimming alone and they had nothing else saying like he did. They'd get it when I told them the best part. And guess what? Andy, she's the woman who will tag him, thought my idea was so good she invited me to visit the sanctuary. I left out the part about her saying I should stop by for a tour if my family had ever happened to be in Appleton, Alaska. That was good enough of an invitation for me. We had to go. Mom and Dad gave each other a look like they were trying to figure out what to say. Sometimes they tried to talk without moving their mouths when I was nearby, so I couldn't read their lips. Now it looked like they were communicating silently, though. That was nice of her, signed Mom. Maybe someday we'll take a trip to Alaska and you can see the sanctuary. Someday meant never. But we have to go soon, I explained, when the whale will be there. Don't worry, Dad signed. He has other whales around him all the time, right? They totally missed the point. If they understood what a big deal this was, they'd take it seriously. This whale was finally going to hear a song like his own, and I'm the one who made it. I was ready to answer any questions they had about Blue 55 or the sanctuary or the song. They didn't ask about any of it. Dad probably hadn't even caught most of it. I should have explained it better. This was the most important thing I'd ever do, and it was turning out all wrong. After a deep breath, I forced myself to slow down when I answered Dad. This would work out if I could be less excited, more patient. But they can't understand him. That's the problem. Even when other whales are nearby, they don't know what he's saying. My hand showed Dad the swimming whale all alone in the ocean, singing while nothing answered back. Then one day there was a song like his. I turned to the side and held a hand up to my ear like I was hearing the song myself. When I finished, Dad looked up like he was thinking about my explanation, then said, "Sounds like that whale needs speech therapy." He laughed at his own joke, then said something else with his face downward. I waved to get his attention, then signed, "What?" He took a spoonful of chili and signed, "Nothing." That was the one sign he knew well. "It isn't nothing. You mean I'm not important enough to include?" He looked at Mom for an interpretation, but I signed to her, "Don't interpret anymore." Dad's chest heaved with a sigh, so he must have understood that part. What if you couldn't talk to anyone around you? What if you tried, but no one understood? Dad glanced at Mom again, but she just reached for her glass. The water in the glass shook when I slapped the table. Dad signed, "I can't understand you. You need to slow down." I signed faster. "It doesn't matter what I do. You don't understand anyway. What if your whole life was like this? What if you were that whale in an ocean with no one to talk to?" He shook his head and went back to his dinner. Mom signed to me, "Sweetie, I'm sorry you're upset, but we can't just drop everything and go to Alaska. We'll watch the expedition online. You can invite Wendell over and everyone will see how you helped the whale." She added, "I'll make popcorn." Like that would make everything better. No, this isn't fair. I'm the one who made the song. It was my idea to play it for him. I'll help pay for the trip. I had no idea what a trip to Alaska would cost, but I had some money in the bank from my repair work. No one said anything for a while, and then Tristan touched my arm. "Hey, it is great what you're doing for that whale. The important thing is that he'll get to hear your song, right?" "Yes, but I should be there when he hears it. I need to see him." "He isn't one of your radios." "What?" "The whale," Tristan signed. "I know you don't like to leave anything broken. Make sure that that's not the reason you want to do this. You can't go in there and fix him like he's a radio." "I know that." I signed it like I was smacking the air. What was he even talking about? But I have to go there. I want him to know that someone hears him. I went on like that, not stopping to wipe the tears from my face, signing so fast that Tristan couldn't keep up with me. Maybe even Mom couldn't, but I didn't slow down. I didn't care anymore. I was like Blue 55, shouting into the void of the ocean at a frequency too high for anyone to reach. And that's the end of chapter 18. Chapter 19. The new pod was leaving him. The youngest of the group stayed back, swimming around him in a circle, then floating nearby as the others called him. The calf was too young to have found his own song yet. He called to the large whale who swam alone, trying to click and chirp in fragments of a howl. With the time, they might have understood each other. That worried the pod. They didn't want the strange sounds piercing the waters around them, didn't want their calf singing the song that they didn't understand. It was dangerous. How would he alert them when he needed help? The humpback family called out, determined to leave, yet unwilling to move on without the calf. With a final chirp, the young whale turned to join them. For a moment, the larger whale followed, knowing he wouldn't be allowed, but not ready to go. It had been so long since he sung with a calf. There had been others in his own family back when he himself was a calf, too. The pod swam ahead, tails thrashing if he got too close. If he had remained quiet, would they have let him stay? For a time he did not hold on to his song, then he revealed it, a little by little as his trust grew. The more he sang, the farther they drifted from him, and the tighter they encircled the calf. A storm brewed in the ocean, but he wouldn't flee like the others. It was in the storms that he sang the loudest. He was like all others then, unable to hear his song over the wind and the crashing waves. He swam into the rough waters, bellowing his unheard songs into the void of the ocean. Maybe the churning and the pounding and the rolling water that carried his sounds away would rearrange them into a new composition another would hear. And that's the end of chapter 19. We will return with chapter 20. I hope you are enjoying the story so far.